Hey guys, I am Sarah. I am a mum of two little girls and I have a husband named Sam. I just wanted to do a little about me Q&A just so I can share a little bit of my story with you guys. I'm super excited to be in this group and to be one of the leaders. It's very fulfilling to know that I can help someone out there. Okay, so let's get into it. So I've got the questions here. Of course, I have mum brain at the moment. I have a nearly 5-month-old, so I am still in the trenches of newborn life. So I'm going to read my questions and then I will just answer them. So, as I said, my name is Sarah. I was diagnosed with postnatal depression and anxiety about 7 months postpartum with my first daughter Lexi. I was due to go back to work in around 2 weeks from the time I got diagnosed, and work brought a lot of anxiety for me. And yeah, I ended up at my community health nurse's office, bawling my eyes out, didn't know what was wrong with me, and she was like, "This is not you," because I'm also a nurse. So I worked with my midwife, which was really nice. And yeah, it all led to going to the GP, and I was commenced on some medication. So yeah, it was 7 months of exhaustion, absolute exhaustion. So yeah, it doesn't hit you straight away. Looking back now, I realize what I was doing, but at the time I had no idea. So yeah, it's hard to work out where you're at in the whole sleep deprivation, new mum world. So am I a first time mum or a second time mum or whatever? I am a second time mum now, but when I was diagnosed, I was obviously a first time mum. So what form of PNDA did I develop? So I had both. So I had postnatal depression and anxiety. I think looking back on my life now, I have suffered from anxiety my whole life, but it went undiagnosed. I didn't realize that that's what I had until now, pretty much. So yeah, I didn't get low being in the depressive state, but I did have, I had nightmares. I had a lot of the symptoms, but I didn't, want to harm anyone or anything like that. So what was I seeing, hearing, feeling that made me realize something was not quite right, that led you to seek support? So as I mentioned, I had nightmares. They were one of my biggest symptoms, I guess. And I also didn't want to leave the house. So I got so anxious that I was going to be in a car accident. Something was going to happen to either me or Lexi or my husband Sam, if we ever went anywhere. I remember it was just around Christmas time and I didn't want to go anywhere because it was way too busy. And, something bad was going to really happen. So I always had to sit in the back seat with her. I always had to be touching her. I couldn't let her out of my sight. I couldn't let anyone else look after her because, God forbid, someone else look after my child. Yeah, so they were probably the two biggest things that I knew that something wasn't quite right. I was stressing a lot about her sleeping. I would spend hours on end trying to resettle, and you have to sleep for 2 hours at a time and all this stuff when she was sleeping for 40 minutes to an hour. I can't even remember because I was so sleep deprived and I was just so stressed about it. And then yeah, throwing work back in the mix just sent me into a downward spiral from there. So yeah, that was my kind of symptoms. How did this impact the relationships around you? So I guess it impacted my marriage probably more than anything, as you could probably imagine, because he could never do anything right. It was either my way or the highway, and because obviously he has different ways of doing things, and it wasn't right, because that's not how you do it. Like, that's not how you change a nappy. That's not how you rock them, because that's not how I do it. But when you're in it, you don't see that, and yeah, it's hard. It is really, really hard to look back and realize how much damage it kind of did to my marriage. And now, I guess, being a second time mum, Sam is a lot more standoffish with Pippa, my second born, because he could never do anything right with our first, which is not true at all. He was a brilliant husband, a brilliant father. But back when I was like I was, and it's kind of escalated to be like, well, you just do it, because it's just easier if you just do everything, because you have your own way of doing it and I don't want to fight about it. So yeah, it's probably put the biggest damage into my marriage. And it's just something that we're working through now that we know what I was going through, and I can talk about it a lot more. He kind of understands, but I guess they never really truly understand what it feels like. So what support did I seek? Obviously my community health nurse, my GP, and I did get referred to a counsellor, which I never went and seen. But now I do go and see a psychologist. I have finally found one in the last, or probably 6 months. So it has been a bit of a journey to get there. And actually so I didn't want the counsellor. I said, oh no, I'm fine. I don't need to talk about it. And then I got a bit worse. And at the time I was just pregnant with Pippa. So my GP didn't want to I took myself off my medication, and she didn't want to put me back on medication. So she suggested that I go and see a psychologist, and it took me, probably maybe 10 months to try and get in to see a psychologist in my area. I live in a very small rural town in the Southern Tablelands in New South Wales. So there's not many services here, and the services that we do have is just booked out. So I just couldn't get into one. They weren't taking new patients, and there wasn't even a waiting list that I could go on. So I actually found one over in Canberra who specialise in perinatal mental health. So that was a really good find, I guess, for me. And I got into them within, I think, about 6 weeks. It might not even be that long, I'm not sure. I think it was about 6 weeks. It was 6 weeks, because it was at my 6-week appointment. I went and had my first session after I had Pippa. What tips would you? So what tips would I give another mum going through this? You will get out of it. It sucks. It really, really sucks to be in the trenches. And you know, everyone's experience is different. So my experience is going to be different to yours. It's going to be different to all of the leaders in this group. But yeah, it's really hard, but you will come out of it. And I think the best thing, I guess, is kind of just accepting that this is what it is, and getting the help that you need, because I lived with it for 7 months without telling a single soul. I didn't tell my husband, I didn't tell my mum, I didn't tell anyone, and it nearly broke me. It did break me. And sorry. Yeah, so you will come out of it is my biggest tip. And it's okay to not be okay. I know everyone says, you know, I'm always here for a chat, but you know, you never take up the offer, and you should. You really should take up the offer of a cup of tea or just a chat or anything like that. People do want to help, And I guess it's hard kind of in this situation because a lot of people don't know what you're going through. A lot of people don't go through this, even though it is becoming more common. I think at the moment, when I was first diagnosed, it was 1 in 7 women. I think maybe now it's down to 1 in 5. So it's getting more and more common, and I think people just don't talk about it. A lot of people have reached out to me and said, oh my God, I can't believe that like we have the same symptoms or something, because they never talked about it. So they didn't know that that's what they had. And they didn't want to talk about it. So yeah, I really want to bring awareness to speaking out about your feelings, your symptoms, anything at all. If you don't feel like something is right, it's probably not. So what strategies worked best for me? So obviously I have recommenced on medication, which I think has taken the edge off, but I do know that my triggers are when I'm stressed. I get very, very anxious about everything. If my house is a mess, I get very, very anxious about everything. I yell at my children. My toddler. I can't really yell at my newborn. I don't deal well with clutter. Everything needs to be in its spot. I am very much a perfectionist. Everything needs to be tidy. By the end of the day, there's nothing to be on the floor, and that's just who I am. And I have come to accept that, yes, I'm a clean freak, but it makes my mind be at ease to go to bed. And to be stressed, I feel like all of my symptoms kind of come back. So if I'm stressed, I have nightmares. If I'm stressed, I have the feeling of not wanting to leave the house because something bad is going to happen. So they are my kind of triggers, and my strategies is to, do some self-care, put a face mask on. If I feel stressed, I'll put a face mask on. I'll have a long hot shower, although I'm not overly fond of showers because it gives me too much time to think about things. Usually I'm in and out. What else do I do? Clean the house. If I feel stressed, I will clean the house. If it's a mess, I will just clean it because it makes me feel better. I don't know. I don't have the best strategies to fix everyone, but that's what happens for me. What symptoms do I still have today? I just talked about them. As the more wiser and healing mama, what would you tell your youngest self about this experience? That postnatal depression and anxiety doesn't discriminate. It can be anyone. A lot of people said to me, oh my God, I never realized, because you never came across like you were depressed. No, I didn't, because I didn't have the symptoms that everyone thinks that depression is. It gets better. It does really get better, and you'll come out so much stronger at the end of it. And my inbox is always open for anyone to reach out and chat to me. I love talking about it. I could talk about this stuff all day. I'm really, really passionate about helping other women because I feel like I needed a community like this when I was going through this. And now I'm on the other side, although sometimes I still have it. And I guess we never really get rid of it in terms, but it's really nice just to have someone to chat to. So thanks for joining me, and I hope you liked my little video, and I will chat to you all soon.